In the quiet stillness of a moonless night, a lone figure sat hunched in the darkness of his bedroom. Liam, a 17-year-old with a mind that often raced with anxious thoughts, found himself home alone for the weekend. The soft glow of his phone screen illuminated his face as he FaceTimed his older sister, Anna. His voice trembled slightly as he asked, "Weird question, but can someone hide under a platform bed?" Anna's brow furrowed with concern. "Why? What did you hear?" she inquired, her voice crackling through the speaker. Liam's eyes darted nervously around the room, his fingers tightening around the flashlight in his hand. He hesitated before responding. I heard tapping under the frame. It was faint, but I'm sure I heard it." With a deep breath, Liam slowly rose from his seat, the floorboards creaking beneath his feet. He aimed the flashlight beam under the bed, its light cutting through the shadows. Nothing but dust and forgotten objects greeted his gaze. Anna's voice broke the tense silence, a hint of amusement in her tone. "It's just your anxiety again, Liam. You always let your imagination run wild when you're alone." Liam chuckled nervously, trying to shake off the unease that clung to him like a second skin. He settled back onto his chair, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. But as he opened his mouth to speak, a voice that sent chills down his spine emanated from beneath the bed. It was Anna's voice, but not from the phone. "Wait, don't sit. I'm under here. That thing on the call isn't me." Time seemed to stand still as Liam's blood turned to ice in his veins. His eyes, wide with terror, slowly shifted to the phone screen. The Anna on the call was still there, but something was terribly wrong. Her smile had stretched too wide, unnaturally so, and her eyes held a stillness that was deeply unsettling. The room around Liam seemed to darken, the shadows growing longer, more menacing. The Anna on the screen spoke again, but her voice had changed. It was deeper now, laced with a malevolence that made Liam's skin crawl. "You shouldn't have looked," it growled, the words echoing in the small room. Liam's breath caught in his throat, his heart pounding so hard he thought it might burst from his chest. Suddenly, the flashlight in Liam's hand began to flicker, casting eerie, dancing shadows across the walls. In that moment of wavering light, a pale, skeletal hand shot out from under the bed. Its cold fingers wrapping around Liam's ankle with inhuman strength. A scream built in his throat, but before it could escape, darkness engulfed him. The town woke the next morning to whispers of another disappearance. Liam's parents returned to an empty house, his room undisturbed, save for a phone lying on the floor, its screen cracked and dark. The police searched, but found no trace of the boy. As days turned to weeks, hope began to fade, and the town was left to wonder what secrets lurked in the shadows of their quiet streets. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some spoke of strange noises coming from abandoned houses at night. Others of glimpses of pale figures in windows, their smiles too wide to be human. The fear that had taken root in the town grew, fed by the unexplained and the unknown. Months passed, and the case of Liam's disappearance grew cold. But on a chilly autumn evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of blood and fire, a group of teenagers ventured into the woods on the outskirts of town. They were drawn by tales of an old, forgotten cabin hidden deep within the forest. As they pushed through the dense undergrowth, the trees seemed to close in around them, their branches reaching out like gnarled fingers. The air grew thick and heavy, filled with an oppressive silence that seemed to swallow even the sound of their footsteps. And then, as they stepped into a small clearing, they saw it. A dilapidated cabin, its windows dark and empty like the soulless eyes of a corpse. With hearts pounding and hands shaking, they approached the weathered door. It creaked open at their touch, revealing a room shrouded in darkness. As their flashlights cut through the gloom, they gasped in horror. The walls were covered in strange symbols, etched into the wood with what looked disturbingly like dried blood. And there, in the center of the room, sat a figure they recognized, Liam. But this wasn't the Liam they remembered. Skin was pale, almost translucent, and his eyes were black voids that seemed to drink in the light. When he smiled, his teeth were too sharp, too numerous. He spoke, but his voice was not his own. It was a chorus of whispers, each word dripping with an otherworldly malice. "Welcome," the thing that was once Liam said, its grin widening impossibly. "We've been waiting for you. It's time for you to join us in the dark." As the teenagers turned to flee, they found the door had vanished, replaced by a solid wall. The cabin seemed to pulse around them, alive with an ancient, hungry presence. Their screams echoed through the forest, but no one was there to hear them. The town below, lights flickered and went out, one by one, as the darkness spread, hungry for more souls to claim.